Hello and welcome, boys and girls, to a new edition of Ask Guillem. And it's not a surprise, it won't be a surprise to you, that we're going to talk a lot about referees and controversy and the reaction to all of that in Spain, just to give you the context of it. The story starts 100 years ago, but more recently, the fact that Barcelona dropped points against Sevilla, actually it doesn't start there. There is against Eibar, Real Madrid scores a goal in which Benzema looked to be offside. VAR looks into it and decides that no, he's not offside, the goal counts. Next, Barcelona draws against Sevilla, which leaves the title in the hands of Real Madrid. And then Piqué at the end of it, because everybody's saying, including Quique Setién, is the most intelligent, or one of the most intelligent guys there is. And what that means is that he understands how everything works. He came out with the expression, with a line that it's going to be very difficult for Real Madrid to drop points. Why, he was asked? Well, I've seen the last couple of games, and I think it'll be difficult for Real Madrid to drop points. More or less like that. Suggesting, of course, that referees are protecting Real Madrid. I give you another context. It was Javier Tebas, the head of La Liga, who actually said that since a call of Florentino Perez to Rubiales, the head of the federation, the incidence of the VAR has changed, suggesting that those calls work. You actually make a call to the right people at the right time, and decisions change. And I personally have got a difficulty with all of this because it suggests that there is influential people that act consciously in favor of big teams. In this case, Barcelona now doesn't consider themselves a big team. They are the victim of this conspiracy, and Real Madrid the benefactors. I believe in something else. I believe in, I think it's called subjective psychology. I first heard it from Gab Macotti, my colleague Gab Macotti. I think he mentioned it recently. And I looked into it. And what it is psychologically, referees get affected by the consequences of their acts, like we all humans are. And of course, if it's a mistake against a big side, they're going to be in the papers, it will affect, there will be pressure, it will affect the way they react, all of that. And then what tends to happen is that they take decisions influenced by that. But as a consequence, some of those decisions, when it's 50-50, they veer towards the bigger club. That is human beings acting. Is there a conspiracy? I don't think it is. Are referees trying to work to balance that out really and to get less influenced by the subjective psychology? Yes, I'm sure they are working towards that. Do I trust referees? I do. And then what happens after all this is the context, is that of course Real Madrid against Real Sociedad, 4 decisions, if you count the Casemiro elbow, that I don't think it was a red, but could have been given as a red. So influence of or interpretation of the referee there. It was given a yellow. Then it was the penalty to Vinicius. He is about to hit the ball and softly but enough, Llorente hits the back of his heel and balances him. Penalty. Then the Benzema goal, and I'm going to introduce here Suroy Baul, who says, if that wasn't the handball, then sir, please elaborate what handball actually is, and I'm going to explain to you. Basically, the rule of handball has been introduced for decades, right? But a lot of people are getting confused because they've seen that in the laws now there is even a graphic in which it suggests that armpit down, armpit here down is handball, armpit up is not. The ball hits this part, so it's not a handball. And people see it on the rules for next season because they have to be, it's part of the official communications that the federations got with a graphic that I've used in my timeline on Twitter, where it clearly states that there is a line here at the armpit level, which suggests that this is not a handball. The rule has not changed. The rule was introduced many years ago, but this is a clarification of the rule. It's not a new rule, it's a clarification of the rule that everybody will have as part of their rules, if you like, as an addendum, as an adding thing. So Benzema's goal should have counted. So we're talking about 3 good decisions, and a 4th one, I think, and that's of course down to interpretation, was Courtois impeded by Merino, who was on the way from the ball to the goalkeeper and impeding his side. I think yes, referee said yes, and a lot of people saying, and that's what it gets a lot of people up. Basically, Merino was offside, so then it was disallowed that goal. 2 things about it. If Merino wasn't there, it could have been a goal actually, because Courtois may have not stopped it. We don't know. There's a jump that he gives towards the right, and then he dives towards the left, where the ball is coming, suggesting that he wasn't seeing the ball, hence having to be disallowed. The referee doesn't go to the screen, and what it would have changed a little bit the reaction afterwards, and I'll explain the reaction now, is that everything was done very quickly. And that goes to that subjective psychology that I'm talking about. In that, you sure that Real Madrid got those decisions in their favour, not because it's the Real Madrid, but that's the team that got them in their favour, and decisions were taken quickly. And perhaps if he had gone to the screen and checked and double checked and done it thinking more time, with more thinking time, it may have calmed some people down. Oh yeah, okay, he had enough time to think about it. But because he was so quick, a lot of people are saying, he was influenced by Real Madrid. He was just benefiting and biasing. He was biased towards Real Madrid. I insist, I don't believe those things happen. But then the reaction has been massive. And I ask you one question. If those 4 decisions had gone in the favour of Barcelona, would the reaction be the same from the Barcelona media and the Barcelona fans? As in, if the one benefited had been Barcelona and would allow them to beat, say, Real Sociedad in an important game, would they go, unbelievable, we were so lucky, everything was so biased in our favour? No, it wouldn't have. And that's what I'm saying of what's happening a little bit now with Spanish football. It's predictable who will defend what, and it's quite clearly a lot of people wear the scarf when they talk. And I think I'm lucky enough to be an Espanyol fan, so I don't have to get involved in the battles of Barcelona-Madrid, and I can see it from the outside. I may be wrong, I'm not saying I couldn't be, of course, but what I see is 4 decisions. 2 of them could have gone either way, but of course that means that the way he went is as good as the other way. And yes, I understand the Barcelona fans complaining and saying, it's always going in the same favour. But, Barcelona is a big team and they get a lot of referee decisions in their favour. So that's where we stand. Peter Emenbaga says, with all due respect, Guillem, I think you've been sentimental in your analysis after the Madrid game, because I was watching your analysis and all your speech are in favour of Madrid. You just don't want to speak the truth, and it's not fair. VAR was the main reason Madrid won that game. And I'll respect you, Peter, so I'll leave it at that. Completely disagree with you. I've made my point. You don't think so. One thing I would say, speech in favour of Madrid, I've never ever done that. If I've ever done a speech in favour of anybody, it's about Espanyol, because I talk as a fan more than as a pundit. But anyway, fair enough, that's what you think. Bruce says, do you think Villarreal have an outside shout to make it to the European spots? Yeah, very much so. They drew against Sevilla last night, and basically they've got 3 victories and a draw in 4 games. They continue like this, and they've been rotating very cleverly. They've been scoring goals, I think they've only conceded one goal. The one against 2 goals against Sevilla, those two. And it suggests to me that it's so important to start well in what it is a very packed calendar. And I think they will have a chance even to the Champions League if Sevilla, Real Sociedad, Atletico Madrid drop points. Avi says Real Madrid plan for Odegaard and Hakimi. Will we ever see Odegaard and Haaland together? A lot of things there. The one I tell you for sure, Odegaard, he's told the club, he had to tell them before the end of May what he wanted to do. He wants to stay at Real Sociedad, but Real Madrid has got the last word anyway. Now they know what he wants to do, and they will decide. Real Sociedad are very optimistic that he will stay on. And the same with Hakimi. Real Madrid will have to decide. They may see it as an opportunity to actually sell a player if they need the money, or keep him away on loan for another year. We haven't heard what they decided yet, because I think they're waiting until the end of the season for that. And Odegaard and Haaland together, I don't think Haaland is a possibility this summer. Anyway, the future, who knows? MNA 1311 says, yesterday is another proof that what to do with VAR. Madrid people used to complain so much about it, and now they don't say anything. And of course now is the best thing since sliced bread. In 3 games, the same things. That's what he's saying. He reckons that VAR is benefiting Real Madrid. By the way, it's true that Manchester United wants Ansu Fati. I explained that last week. No, they've been used in this story. Is Jorge Mendes trying to make it look like he's the guy that's going to bring the big move to Ansu Fati? So his dad, who is actually managing everything for Ansu Fati now, Bori, allows Mendes to be part of that. Well, that's what it was all about. And it benefited Barcelona to bring the story out, because then they could say, look, we're going to build around this guy. We said no to this money, even though they absolutely need money. So Rax J10 says, why was Jano Jazz called disallowed? He seemed very harsh, and Vinicius didn't look like he was touched in the box. There's an angle where you see that he was touched, and there's no argument about that, because also he was about to kick the ball. He does it, but badly. And Jano Jazz, I explained. And that is same as the red to Casemiro, which gets given a yellow. Their VAR cannot intervene, by the way, because referee has seen it. VAR doesn't intervene in the decisions that the referee has seen unless it's a clear and obvious error. And because the referee has seen clearly that in the case of Jano Jazz, there had been a player, Merino, that was on the way to goal, and VAR confirmed that too, then that's it. So it wasn't VAR taking decisions here, it was the referee, because he had seen everything. Another thing is if you agree or not with his interpretation. Brew again, 2 questions today. Why do you think teams like Getafe and Real Sociedad have faded away from the top 4 race since the start of La Liga? I spoke to both managers, and it is down to how they found the team. It is down to, in the case of Getafe, the lack of fans that benefits them, because they allow them to put pressure to referee, to put in practice the brand of football that they like to put in practice, which is like physical and aggressive and constant, and without the fans that's dropped. The form of the players were at the best. Real Sociedad is like a bike. When you ride a bike first, you've got 4 wheels, haven't you? And then you take 2 wheels off, and then you go faster. Real Sociedad takes a while for them to get to that rhythm, and they haven't got to it, even though the last 50 minutes against Real Madrid actually showed enough quality there to suggest that perhaps that we're going to see a better Real Sociedad. Last one, Se Habla de Fútbol, says, I don't understand when we left football to one side and only talk about controversies. There are referee mistakes everywhere, I completely agree with you, but I don't see that people cry when it happens to Leganés or when it happens to Las Palmas, which apparently happens a lot, he says. All I hear today is zero self-criticism and try to throw, don't want to use this word, to kill the prestige of basically the institutions and the referees, and finishes with valors. Valors meaning the values that many clubs defend when they actually publicly they behave differently. And I agree with you. It's a brand of journalism that we've decided to put in practice. A lot of people enjoy that. otherwise it wouldn't exist. And it has to do with debating almost as if we were in a bar. And you know, it's got. You have to say that football is as everybody's repeated so often, is the most important of the least important things. And controversy is something that gives us energy in a way, negative in some cases. I think in your case, possibly mine as well. But it just allows people to just vent their fury and their frustrations, and that's what it is, and it's here to stay. So I've tried to explain what I think of the whole situation, and anyway, that was the end of Ask Guillem, and there will be more very, very soon.